Okay, gonna get started. Hey friends. Hit end on this. I'm loving this. I moved the Casio next to me so that I can control it better. But I just want to double check the sound. Oh, yeah, sounds great. We are going to put on another little quieter ditty as our background music. Cool. Is that loud enough? Let me see. Hi, Tress. Thanks for joining me today. How are you? How's the shop? I hope the shop is okay. Hope you're getting a lot of mail orders. Step a little bit. I'll find another day. Alright, I'm going to do a lot of this intro stuff. Sorry if you've heard it before, but last time we talked about how lye is used in cooking, and it was a surprising amount of stuff. Like, I did not know that they use lye in removing the tiny, tiny pith from mandarin oranges, like canned mandarin oranges. I thought that people just peeled them individually, or there was a way to do it machine separated, but apparently they just soak the segments in lye and it just dissolves, which freaks me out. Oh, you guys got the PPP loan! Congrats. Wonderful. I'm glad that your independent bookstore can continue to fight another day. Hooray. So also last week we talked about vermicelli noodles and so many dishes that I want to make now, which is crazy because my to-do list of cooking things is already long. Rachel asked about how to make fruit leather, and I went deep about that. It's actually just 3 ingredients, which sounds insane to me, but it's very possible for you to make fruit leather at home in the oven. Great, great, great. We also talked about easy pasta sauces that aren't tomato, and that Erica asked that question, and I sent it to her on Slack, and she was like, "Oh, this is my calendar now," which was really cute. I like that I can help in this way. But if you missed all that, you can watch any clip about any individual ingredient on my channel if you click on videos. You can rewatch any stream up to 2 weeks ago. Since Twitch deletes them every 2 weeks, I'm uploading the archive unedited to youtube.com/JennDLV. That's JENNDLV. And make sure to subscribe there if you can't watch at this regular time, which is 5 p.m. Eastern. And sometimes I'm just talking to future people. Like, this is like time travel, right? At least I think that's how I feel about it. If people aren't watching now, they're watching later. And it's like, I'm talking to people in the future. Sick. Alright. So, yeah, here, every Wednesday, 5 p.m. Eastern. I'm a Twitch affiliate, so if you have a Amazon Prime subscription, you get a free Twitch subscription as well that you can gift to your favorite creators every month. So if you have one, click on the purple button on the top right. It's either top right or below me, because they keep changing the layout, and I don't know when they're going to launch a new layout, but there's a purple button that says gift a sub, and you can connect your Amazon Prime account to Twitch, and then make sure that some of your favorite people get a little bit of money every month. Yes. Bijan and I were talking about this on last night's stream. We were trying to do a live stream for Fun City on YouTube, and we ran into so many technical difficulties, and so we ended up hosting on Bijan Stevens' Twitch channel, and we were talking about, like, most people don't know that they have a free Twitch subscription connected to their Amazon Prime, and most people just don't use it, so we take every opportunity to remind people, because you know, in these trying times, it's harder and harder to, like, freelance and make money, and so one passive way to help creators, is to subscribe to them on Twitch. And we get like a couple dollars for every person that subscribes to us. And if you saw an ad before this, I want to turn them off, but I get like a little bit of money from it too. So until we start making more money on Twitch, I'm gonna have to keep those ads on. I'm sorry. And I know Amazon's complicated because I have complicated feelings about it too, but if you happen to use it, there are ways to like help me out through it. So whatever. And it's okay if you don't like to use it. Totally understand. There is also an Amazon widget below this video that I switch out the ingredients week to week depending on what we talk about. And so if you shop from there, I also make a little bit of commission from it. So I know, so much money talk in the beginning. God, it makes me uncomfortable. Hi, Wes. So continuing to make more stuff. Mondays have skate videos up on YouTube and Instagram. And now here on Twitch. I didn't know that Twitch had video hosting. So I'm going to update the skate videos also on Monday on Twitch. But it's offset by a couple weeks because I just want to keep the workflow going over there on YouTube. Whatever. We have Fun City podcast episodes every other week. This Friday we have our behind the scenes show Fun Chatty coming out this Friday. We're talking about episode 16 where we go to the Bronx, and it's really fascinating talking about the cultural makeup of the Bronx and the new futuristic languages that they speak, which is really, really interesting. And actually today we released a patron-only one-shot. So that means in tabletop RPG games, one-shots are just one-pagers that are meant to just be a short experience of a game, like a couple hours. And we played one a couple weeks ago called System Shock. And it was written by Grant Howlett. And the game is about a world where everyone is cybernetically like maxed out, like my arms, my legs, I got like brain implants. And then you find out after you've, paid for all this body modification, you find out your body is not actually yours, but leased to a big corporation. And when you can't pay, you start to lose the loss of some of these cybernetics through the game. And so your goal is to go kill the CEO and reset all debt for all humanity, which is kind of a great, mission. So we played a game and it was really fun. So it's on the Fun City Patreon if you want to hear that. And then what else have I been doing? I've been streaming the sounds of my back patio in the BQE. It's been really nice. Hi! I don't know your actual name, Defense Mech, but nice to see you. Sorry. I only know you by your chip name. But hello. Cool. Let's see what I've been up to this week. Boop, fancy. Look at me. Okay, so tomorrow I'm joining Salty Studio and Girl Squash Magazine on behalf of Put an Egg on It to talk about international food zines around the world. This is at 10 a.m. Eastern, and Salty Studio is based in the UK, so it says 3 p.m. BST. I learned a new time zone, BST. And we're going to spend an hour tomorrow morning talking about why we write about food, zines that we like, how our zines are laid out and put together, and what we look for when we curate stories, and how I got into food writing. So it's going to be fun. There is a fee associated with this. It's to keep Salty Studio running because they were an event-based company. And so this is one way that they're staying afloat and still like hosting international discussions about like all these great things that we care about, like food and magazines and all that. What else? Oh, hi, Aaron. There you go. Yeah, Fun Chatty is legit one of the things I look forward to recording every other week. It's like our inside baseball, and we really let loose, We get so off track, and I apologize for the next Fun Chatty. We got so off track on this one that we didn't answer all the questions. So we're going to save those questions for the next one, but be assured that we will answer all the questions. So what else? So usually I'm the caterer for this gala at the Tank. So I'm on the board of a nonprofit theater in Manhattan, and I've been with them for over 10 years. It's crazy. I used to work there. I used to curate shows there. And now I'm a board member. But usually what I do is I cater the gala every spring. And since we can't really host the gala with a room full of people, we're moving it online, and I'm hosting a cook-along. So we're selling food tickets until this Friday, and then after that we're going to close the food tickets because we have to start figuring out how to deliver them across the country. So I'm doing that, and it's going to be really fun. I don't really do a lot of live cooking, but I'll be doing live cooking interspersed with musical performances and theatrical performances and words from our staff. We have the cast of Hadestown, like the Broadway musical Hadestown, coming to like sing a number. We got Dennis O'Hare doing a little tribute, and we're honoring a producer named Mara Isaacs of Octopus Theatricals. She put on so many shows, and she is a producer behind Hadestown. So, yeah, it's gonna be really fun. And if you don't know who the Tank is, they're a nonprofit arts presenter based in Manhattan, and every Tuesday they have a variety show featuring alumni and shows that have been canceled. We canceled over like 200 shows, so it's been a really rough period for the Tank, but we are hoping this gala is really fun and something that you all want to go to. So there's that. It's there. They're at thetanknyc.org. What else is happening in my life? Etsy store. This is another way that I am surviving. It's been pretty fun, like making up spices and things. And the newest addition is sriracha salt. I only have 2 test batches in here in the store because sriracha salt was hilariously hard to produce. You can see it's like really fine. I think I wanted to make it a little bit more coarse so that there's more surface area for the sriracha. This is so inside baseball. I'm sorry. More surface area so the sriracha could stick to it. I tried making sriracha powder itself, but it turns out the original recipe of sriracha is too sticky. Like, tomatoes have so much fruit pectin or sugar that when I tried to dehydrate it, it was just like fruit roll up. Like, that would like clog up my grinder. So instead I desiccated sriracha and a bunch of salt and then fine ground it and mixed it with some dehydrated tomato to make it more flavorful. So this is a test. It's in my Etsy store. You can see that here. There's still Jenn salt, which is a mix of roasted brown rice and green tea. That is really lovely on like chocolate, just plain bar of chocolate, just sprinkle some tea salt on it. It's so good. I have Kari Kari Crumble up there, which is a Filipino peanut curry. It has shrimp in it, dehydrated shrimp, so it's totally shelf stable, but I would just eat it quickly because it's good, right? Yeah. And if you missed the sticker promotion that I had on Patreon, I added some to the store. So that is Etsy. My Etsy shop is called Iridium Gym because Iridium is number 77 on the periodic table, and that's my building number. Just so you know. Okay, fun stuff. What did we do this week? I made this really nice cheese plate. All the little dried fruit, like half moonsies around, is like what I was thinking about the passage of time and moon phases. But my friends at Forever Cheese sent me a birthday box of cheese, and so I've been posting a lot about all the different ways I've been eating it, but this is like the most basic way that I enjoy cheese, which is making pretty cheese plates. And since I can't really make them for weddings right now, it's like I'm pretending to make myself cheese plates all the time, which is great. And that's my lunch sometimes. What else? So this is a look into my home studio. So my dining table I bought so that I can entertain people, but now it's become the Etsy shop up front. Like you can see up front, that's the Etsy shop. And then the back is where I have my big microphone, this, and the light bounce, which is over there, over the light. So I'm sitting like there in the back with the microphone. But that's what it looks like now in my house. My friend Kate was asking people on Twitter, like, how have you changed your house and like how, like, to accommodate how you were living now, like forever 24/7 indoors. And this is like the big change that I've made, which is kind of crazy. I really just want to clear this off and have people over. Right? But that's a look into my home studio. That's what it looks like. I made this week kinilaw. Do you know what that is? That is Filipino ceviche. So instead of like frying fish, a lot of the times when it's so hot, I like to marinate fresh fish, like cubed fresh fish, in calamansi juice, which is Filipino citrus, but you can use lime and lemon, just like in ceviche. You use that acid to cook the fish on all sides, and so you let it sit for like an hour or up to 3, and it kind of, I don't know, it mellows out the vinegar. The fish like cooks, like it's not clear anymore. It's opaque if you look closely at it. And then it's dressed with thinly sliced ginger, fried onion, and then I have lots of lettuce and kale there because I'm trying to be a little healthier. Dang. But yeah, I love this in the summer, and it was really hot last weekend, so I was able to eat this outside. Hooray. I also made ramp pesto. Look how green it is. It's so nice. I discovered that the tree that overhangs into my yard it's a peach tree, and that you can use peach leaves in cooking. So I'm going to try out a David Leibowitz recipe called vin de pêche, which is an aperitif. So it's red wine, peach leaves, a shot of brandy, and then like 3 tablespoons of sugar. And this sits for 10 days out of the sun. And then after that you taste it and then strain it. And then it's like kind of like an almondy, like it's not peach flavored. Peach leaves are more like nutty. They're usually toxic if you don't cook them, but soaking them this long in a acidic solution will neutralize any danger. And plus I'm not eating them, we're just steeping them. I also read that they can be like tea, which is so cool. But yeah, that is my peach leaf experiment. My onion has been growing so much. Like, you know, like the furry end of an onion, that's the root. Like, so if you save that bottom quarter of an onion and soak it in a cup of water like this, like you can see the roots have grown out, and it keeps it suspended out of the water. And it's been growing these like onion shoots. I think even this photo is old. This photo's only a day old, but let me go get the actual onion and I'll show you how much it's grown. Say hi to my onion. You can see like the sunlight was over here and then it was reaching for it. Buddy. Yeah, I love David Leibowitz. Like, look at this onion, buddy. You can grow onions. And it's even got like even more, like, look, there's even another little buddy coming up. It's insane. Life, right? But that's my onion buddy. What else? I also made a mushroom marsala. I had like a leftover bottle of marsala, and I'm not really much of a sweet drink person. Like, someone brought it over for brunch and then like left it here, and I was like, oh, stuck with this bottle of marsala that I don't like. But I googled like a chicken marsala recipe, and I have tons of dried mushrooms from my small hold block. And so I rehydrated the mushrooms in a broth and then added the marsala wine, and just that reduction, just marsala wine and broth, and then a pat of butter at the end, was like incredible on these mushrooms. And then I had it over pasta with ramps, and like it was so stupid easy. Like, whoa. So if you happen to have marsala at your house, or like if you're at your parents' house, they sometimes might have cooking marsala like in the back of the pantry. Like, I know my mom has like a 20-year-old bottle somewhere in there. But yeah. Hi, Ava. Hi. Oh. When did I start growing this? This was maybe a week ago. Isn't that crazy? And what's cool is that like it smells like onion, like by my windowsill. I'm not bothered by that. I kind of love it. Wow, Ava, I hope you got some sleep. I know it was like 4 a.m. last time I saw you, which was last night. Or, yeah. Oh my gosh. I hope you get some rest. Yeah, so that's mushroom marsala. And then, oh, this is fun. I figured out how to upload videos to Twitch. To OBS. So this is me bombing my second hill ever. I'm like learning how to skateboard, which is the worst idea, but the best idea during quarantine. So I go out there with a mask and gloves on, and I have a penny board, and I'm just going on straightaways and down like really shallow hills. I'm not jumping off things. I'm not like, the skate park is closed also, so that's pretty sad. But I'm like doing my best. I'm a sucker for buying onions more than once. Well, yeah, I mean, it's always good to have onions in stock, and I hope that you're not putting them in the fridge. Like, yeah, I learned that keeping onions near other fruit and citrus accelerates the growth. Or like if you keep onions near potatoes or citrus near potatoes, potatoes convert a lot of sugar and start turning green, which is not ideal. Yeah, I did leap off the board at the end of the hill. Because, you know, sometimes when you're skating and you get a little bit of the wiggles, like, I got a little, like, freaked out by that, and so I jumped off. But I know how to safely jump off. What else? So, all this stuff. Oh, yeah, so Patreon is another way that I, like, keep afloat. My username is also this on Patreon and Instagram and Twitter and everywhere, pretty much. I have a pantry guide that's free. I update the pantry guide every week with all the stuff we learn on this stream, and then if anyone has any requests or weird mystery ingredients that you don't know how to use, like, I add it to the pantry guide with, like, tons of ideas. Yes, onions get their own onion basket. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. But anyway, I totally understand that a lot of you are also going through the same sort of financial hardship as me, or getting laid off, or so if you need to change your membership, or if Patreon's not for you, that's totally fine. Just keep in touch with me, and I can still share lots of free resources and answer your questions, because I like answering questions about food. It's great. So last week I posted about how to use up a whole can of tomato paste. I know it's like little, but I always had so much trouble finishing the whole thing. So I wrote about all the ways that you can use it up and store it, or make sure it doesn't get all moldy, at least. What else? I shared a recipe for aquafaba crepes because I opened a gigantic bulk can of beans and needed to get rid of it very quickly. And I'm only one person and can eat only so many beans. I really don't want to eat any more beans. But I used the egg replacement chart that I made a week ago. So that's also for free on Patreon that you can check it out. We have a whole video highlight here on Twitch of all the egg replacements and all the proportions that you need to, need to use in recipes and the different ways that each egg replacement can help you, because eggs have multiple functionalities in recipes. They can bind, they make, they wet things, like there's a lot of things like leavening, they lift. So there's a free guide for that there. And then today I posted the recipe for a Korean egg custard, or giranjim, which is one of my favorite things to get at Korean barbecue restaurants. So it's super, super easy. All those recipes are 5 ingredients or less. So it's meant for people who are just starting out or just like need a quick thingy to make. Yeah. Also, announcement. Oh, how about I do a Casio fill. Announcement. I'm starting a podcast called Culinary Word of the Day. You can follow it on Twitter at culinarywotd. I know that sounds kind of boring. But there are so many words that we use every day in cooking that we don't quite understand. And so maybe if I explain them a little bit, it would stick in your mind like, oh, that is why we boil things, and I shouldn't boil this versus I should boil that. I also want to focus on, I have like 7 categories of words that I want to tackle, but they include agriculture, restaurant slang, home cook techniques, like high gastronomy techniques, like spherification, like what the hell is that? And then international words and dishes and ingredients. So there's so much to explore there, but I also need some feedback. Oh, I know, more Jenn podcast material. This is going to be relatively short compared to all the other podcasts that I'm on. Whereas, the fiction stuff that I do is like an hour, but Culinary Word of the Day is going to be less than 5 minutes. It's meant to be snacky, something you listen to in the morning, something you can connect to your home robot device. Because I use her. And when I tell her to start my day, she reads me the Merriam-Webster word of the day, funny word history, history of the day. So I thought that it would be fun for me to do a culinary word of the day. So hopefully that will get started soon, in a couple weeks. But I need your help. So if you want to submit a word and get a credit on the podcast, you can go to my Twitter, culinarywotd, and there's a Google form to submit a word. And so I'm going to try to get 14 done before launch, and yeah, and then it'll be like every day I'm going to be trying to post a new word, which is very exciting. I added a Patreon tier for $25 a month to get a shout out on the pod permanently. Or not permanently, but for every month that you're, part of the team. So yeah, that's all the business. Well, most of the business. Let's see. There's one more thing. I just got this shipment today. How many of you know about this website called Spoonflower? It is a fabric website, and it's my cookbook's 3rd anniversary. I forgot to say. Let me go get it. Hold on. Yeah, this little baby is 3 years old now. So it's available at most where you buy books. And when I launched the book, I had a friend of mine. I worked with my friend Heather to create a pattern, like a fabric pattern, and so we were thinking that we were gonna make like kitchen like towels and napkins and things. And so I never really got around to that part of things, but we got the pattern made, and then on Spoonflower, you can buy the fabric by the yard. So they were having a sale a month ago, and I was thinking that I was going to make masks with these. So stay tuned for that. But if you want your own fabric, you just search for Randwiches on Spoonflower. And actually, when you buy the fabric there, the commission rate is really, really high. So if you have a friend that is a designer, or if you're a designer yourself, you can get your own fabric printed, and the commission is really, really good. I get like dollars per yard that I sell on Spoonflower. So pass it on, friends. It's a pretty good company so far as I can see. So yeah, stay tuned. I might have some masks in my Etsy store coming up. And then for funsies, yes, funsies. I almost said it was like work, but it's not really work because I love it. With Fun City, we started a book club, and I'm rereading The Diamond Age, which is one of my favorite cyberpunk futuristic novels. The subtitle is A Young Lady's Illustrated Primer. And it's set in the future. There are neo-Victorians, there's cybernetics, there's crime, and there's little girls who want to learn things, and it's kind of amazing. It's by Neil Stephenson, and I'm only on page 33, and I need to be on page 86 by next Tuesday. I think I'll make it. Right? Have any of you read this before? Or have you read Snow Crash? Or, not the same author, but, has anyone read Neuromancer? Or, the Foundation Trilogy? Like, I love all those books. Anyway, let's talk about food. Wait, okay. Chat, how's the volume? Do I need to turn it up or turn the music down? Or what? Let's do audio check. Let me know. Meanwhile, I'm going to put an egg on me. So Rachel Viola, aka Drip, designed all of these on my channel. I love these eggs. Thank you, Wes. Oh, great. Good. Let's get into the food questions. We have a little bit more practical cooking advice in this one. Oh, I know. I was slowly reading through Neuromancer, and honestly, when I read it the first time, it took me way longer. I'm a really fast reader, but it took me way longer than I wanted to. And I didn't get the ending. I was so confused and wanted to be done with the book that I just was like, I just finished reading it, that's it. I didn't even want to go back and figure it out. Which is something I should probably do. I read also, which was a huge undertaking, I read Cryptonomicon. Yeah, cyberpunk novels are a little hard to get your head around at first. Cryptonomicon was not necessarily based in the future, but it's it tells a story in 4 different timelines. It's the same story, but it's about code breaking. And it was so much, but I was so committed. I was like, no, I need to finish this book. Yeah, you do have to train yourself to read a little slower because there's just so much more that you're absorbing. Yeah, for example, I'm reading a new core rulebook for another tabletop RPG, which will be announced soon. But yeah, I need to spend more time with it. You have a ton of articles to read for university, so Neuromancer gets read a few pages at a time. Oh, yeah, it's your fun reading, huh? Dang. That's why you listen to a lot of stuff, though, huh? Listening to the stories is much better, I think. I finished listening to Dune over a course of a week, which was, I would say it was pretty worth it, and still a great story, but the voice acting was pretty bad. So all I did was I kept looking at the IMDb page and trying to imagine Timothée Chalamet speaking it, and I was like, oh yeah, cool. Dune is a journey, and I only listened to book 1. I heard that book 2 wasn't as great. But I don't know. We'll see how it compares to the movie that comes out in the fall. Yeah, you get to multitask while listening. I also do that. I listen to a lot of stuff while I'm trying to do things. But okay, let's talk about. Okay, so Martin asked this question. Who couldn't be here today. He texted me and said that he had some work stuff. Sorry. But I'm going to answer his question anyway and send this video later. I want to learn how to better coordinate several dishes at once. If you have any tricks for this, I mean, I have my approach to this that I know. But if you have any tricks for Martin, I will happily reiterate and share. But number 1, for everyone that is about to, set foot in the kitchen, is to, number 1, read the whole recipe beforehand. I know that sounds ridiculous. Like, do you remember in school, like, there was maybe one assignment that my teacher gave us, and he said, read the whole thing before you turn it in. And most people would just start, like, doing the activities on it. But then at the very bottom, it says, don't write on this paper, just get up and give it back to me. Frustrating. But that's kind of how recipes are, though. Like, you should read the whole thing. This does a bunch of things for you. It gives you a sense of how long the recipe is going to take you. And, if it has yeast in it, that most likely means that it was going to have a proofing time. Some recipes will tell you straight out an active and a passive time. So active is the actual cooking, and passive is waiting. Like, you'll see the breakdown if you look in a cookbook, active versus passive cooking, and you'll know that something's a huge commitment if there's a passive time of, like, 24 hours. Yeah, reading the whole recipe is important. Oh, I did not read A System of the World yet. Maybe I will. You'll have to tell me more about that later. Oh, but anyway, sorry. I always get distracted. So, like a slow cooker chili where you dump it all in there, that's 5 minutes active time and maybe 8 hours on the low heat for passive time. Do you get what I mean? So, also, sometimes recipes, like 2 recipes that you want to cook for dinner, might have similar ingredients. Like, instead of taking the garlic out of the fridge twice, make a list of all the ingredients that you need to prep and cut all the garlic you need, and then separate it into different ramekins if you need to. But to me, it's like cleaning more dishes, and I'm more of a less dishes person. I guess the other big secret to balancing multiple dishes is mise en place. Like, this is a word that gets thrown around a lot. You might have heard it. It's something that gets drilled into our heads in culinary school, but it's French for everything in its place. But basically, that's kind of what's called meal prep, like for home cooks. And so for you to know what to prep, you gotta decide on what it is you're going to eat. And I know a lot of people just want to look at Seamless and just like, I don't want to do this. Like, I can just easily get this delivered to me. But, delivery is getting harder and harder for people. It's not as safe. It's kind of better for you to cook at home for yourself, and I hope you are. But yeah, like, there are so many ways to do this, like, to figure out what it is that you want to eat, and many places to save recipes. Like, so most websites, like Serious Eats, Food 52, The Kitchen, those websites have their own save function or, like, a recipe box feature. So you can collect them there or somewhere else, like Pinterest or Pocket, your online to-do list. Like, I use Todoist, which is, like, a paid thing, but that's because I'm a producer kind of person, so I, like, have many systems going at once. But I know, for me, like, I have big eyes about, I want to make that, I want to make that, I want to make that. So the way that I rein it in is that I prioritize recipes that need to be done sooner, for work, because food is my work, or I look at the fridge at what is going to go bad next, and so that's usually a priority. And then I also have like a post-it by my desk of ideas that I get randomly. And so I try to balance it between stuff I really need to make versus like stuff I really like want to make. And for people who don't cook for a living, I can see how that feels overwhelming. Yeah. What else? Ava's read recipes where the passive time was marked as 30 minutes, but the recipe itself had bits where you had to wait 3 hours or prep something the day before. Yeah, so that is a mistake on the recipe writer. And as a person who writes a lot of recipes, like it's hard to estimate passive times sometimes because everybody's kitchen is different, like the humidity is different, ovens are different, across the world, and so it is kind of hard to approximate the same set of instructions for different people in different environments, but yeah. That's why reading the whole recipe is really important, because you'll catch stuff like that, like mistakes. And it's totally possible for, legendary websites like the New York Times to have mistakes, and that's why they print corrections. So, I mean, your diligence pays off in the end, right? Yeah. So I know it can feel overwhelming to start gathering recipes, but you'll start to feel like a rhythm after a while, after you start knocking things off your to-cook list. I was telling my friend Erica to pick a day to prep. Like, if you still have to work during the day or go to school, or like, you're just busy, it's just great to, like, pick a day where you're just not looking at anything and just, like, chop a lot of vegetables. Usually this is Sunday for most people. It's a day to chop, to roast, and to make sauces. Like, sauces and condiments are probably the thing that sustain me the most, because I don't like to eat the same thing twice. And so having, like, a whole fridge shelf of, like, the different things that I can pick from during the week is really important for me. It might not be important for you, but picking a day to just get all of this busy work out of the way is, meditative, but also reduces your cook time for the whole rest of the week. Oh, excuse me, I feel like I was about to sneeze. A lot of you who've watched me on my stream know that I have, like, bad allergies that start to kick in, like, in the evenings, which is so weird. I think it's because I'm allergic to myself. Anyway, moving on. So storing food is also as important as cooking it. So if you don't store stuff safely, some recipes just will not turn out as intended. I know that, like, there's a lot of news about, like, washing your groceries before storing in the fridge, but the thing about that is wash the outside of packages, not the produce. Because as soon as you introduce extra moisture to produce, it's either gonna start accelerating growth, which promotes rot. It might promote mold, and whatever bacteria is on the outside of it, like, that's okay, but you're gonna wash it again, like, before you eat anyway. It's gonna accelerate any bacteria growth on the outside if you introduce more water. And some things just plain melt and wilt when they hit water, like berries. You should never pre-wash berries. You should only wash berries, like, right before you're about to eat them. Herbs, you can, it's like touch and go with herbs. Like, I try not to wash herbs until I really need them, but if you know that you're going to be using a lot of them in the evening, you can wash them, take them off the stems, and then store them in a damp paper towel. Like, make sure you wring out that paper towel and it's only damp, not dripping wet. And you could sandwich your herbs in that, and that will keep them a little fresh until dinner time. What else? Lettuces. Lettuces. Like, soft lettuces, do not pre-wash that and store it for a week. It's just gonna melt. Trust me. What else? I said store citrus away from root vegetables. In fact, potatoes and sweet potatoes should not even be in the fridge. They should be in a dark drawer or, like, out of the light, because in cold environments, root vegetables tend to convert to sugar, and that's why they turn green, and they get weird and mealy. So a cool trick I learned from restaurants is to treat herbs and some lettuces that still have their roots like plants. and to store them in a pint glass of like cold water, and then keep a loose piece of plastic wrap over it so that when it respirates, it doesn't lose all that water into the fridge. It keeps it like a, not quite a greenhouse, but just enclosed, you know, keeps it nice and moist. What else? Yeah. I also pulled out like a couple recipes. So we're gonna look at a couple of them and dissect like how would I meal prep it and make it easier to make 2 of these things at once. Like this is gonna be chef brain. Chef brain. Okay, so let's look at this. No, potatoes. Mashed potatoes. Okay, so this is a recipe for mashed potatoes. So we're looking at the ingredients here. I want to make sure this is showing up all right. I'm gonna have to scroll it up for you. But, okay, we're looking straight at the ingredient list first. So if I was doing meal prep on a Sunday, and I meant to eat this for dinner on a Monday, I look at this list. Okay, gold potatoes. Great. So we're reading the whole recipe. Peel potatoes and cut into 1-inch pieces. Cool. So that's like the cooking stage, right? So you can prep potatoes and then soak them in cold water to keep them nice and crisp for the next day. So I would do my peeling on Sunday. I would cube them and then store them in a plastic container covered with cold water. Salt, you don't need to divide that early. Butter. So butter is an interesting one. I know in this recipe that we're putting the butter into a hot situation, but whenever you see butter in a recipe, you should double check the instructions and see if you need the butter softened, melted, or cold. So softened is leaving it out on the counter all morning, and it should take like 2 or 3 hours for it to soften. Melting, you know, you can put it in the microwave, you can put it in a pot, but that's completely broken down. Like the difference between softening and melting is that the softened version has not separated the whey from the butter fat. Like it still has some material structure. And then you want cold butter for pies. That's how the crust gets so, flaky nice. But in this recipe, we're putting the butter into hot potato, so it's kind of okay. But if I did want to prep this, I would cube it so that when you put it into the mashed potatoes, you're not waiting for a whole block of butter to melt. Instead, you have like a distributed bunch of cubes, you know, easier to incorporate. Half and half, I wouldn't need to measure that ahead of time. See, softened cream cheese, like we would want to get that out of the fridge in the if it was like rock hard, then I would keep it out of the fridge for like the hour before I was making this. And pepper, easy, right? So if I were to go cook on Monday, like I'd have my potatoes already prepped. That's the longest thing. Everything else is just bringing to a boil. Yeah. So this is a pretty easy recipe. Oops, I think I moved the wrong thing. Yeep. Okay, so moving medium seed. Okay, yeah, mashed potatoes. Easy. Great. Okay, what else? So if we were also having a beef. Sorry if you're a vegetarian. So if we were having roast beef, and it was Sunday, and we are prepping for Monday dinner. So we have a 3-pound boneless beef bottom round roast. We have salt, pepper, olive oil, Italian herb seasoning, garlic powder. So the thing with roasts is they can be pre-rubbed and pre-marinated for a long time, for like 3 days. So if it's Sunday and you want to do the roast on Tuesday, like you can dress the whole thing and keep it in the fridge. What I like to do is I like a tangible like crust on my roasts. So I don't, this is if you have room in the fridge. I take like a cooling rack and nest it inside of a baking sheet. So I have like a netting over a baking sheet, and then I rub the roast all over with all these nice spicy things, and then leave it uncovered in the fridge, like no plastic wrap, because this is more, it's similar to like dry aging, and so on the outside it gets this like dry beef jerky texture, and then when you roast it, it gets all like crusty and nice. So that's one of my secrets. Okay, so we make a beef roast. We're reading the instructions. It says remove beef from refrigerator and season liberally on all sides. Allow beef to stand at room temperature for 30 minutes. So now we know, if we're reading this on Sunday, on Monday we want to take the roast out 30 minutes before we want to have, before we want to start cooking. 400 degrees, line a roasting pan with aluminum foil. Oh, the aluminum foil is so that the drippings don't get stuck to the bottom of the pan. Got it. Set beef in the center of the roasting pan, blah, 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 blah. So what I would do if I wanted to prep ahead is I would do all the rub stuff and then just have it in a roasting pan in the fridge ready to go, so I could just pop it in. So this is a slow roast. So this is at 250 degrees Fahrenheit for up to 2 hours. Nice. Yeah, roast beef is pretty easy. Cool. So that's roast beef. And then also if you wanted to have a soup, like a pumpkin soup. Thank you for this suggestion, Wes. We got these instructions here. So if I wanted to have a soup on Monday, this is what I would do on Sunday. I would portion out the butter. I would chop the onion, put that in a little ramekin, mince the garlic ahead of time. Don't need to measure out the sugar. So let's see. So there are all these spices. There's pumpkin puree. I wouldn't open a can of pumpkin puree ahead of time. I would just do that a la minute of the minute when you're about to get to it. So yeah, that's the only prep I would do for this ahead of time, is the onion, the garlic, and I wouldn't really need the cube of butter. Okay, so in a large pot, melt the butter. Me. So you see that the garlic, you see this long sentence, the garlic, the sugar, the cinnamon, the pepper, the nutmeg, and the cayenne pepper are all together. So I would mix all those spices ahead of time in a ramekin. So I would put the sugar, the cinnamon, the pepper, the nutmeg, and the cayenne in its own little container the night before, and then I'll be able to just throw it in. This is why we read recipes, so that we can strategize and like take shortcuts. Reduce heat to low, stir in the cream. So when it comes to any soup that has cream, you can prep this soup a couple days before. You can even do the whole soup on Sunday. But what I would say is, with any cream soup, do not add the dairy until you're about to serve it. Because when you start adding dairy, that is, more... So that's the thing that's going to go bad first when it starts interacting with other things. So whenever you make any cream soup, so cream of mushroom, cream of potato, cream of chicken, anything that has like a milk or cream additive, always do that dairy part before you serve. But you can make this whole soup like the day before and then hang out, I wrote an article a long time ago. Oh, not a long time ago, maybe 2 years ago. I wrote an article for Taste Cooking about why chili is really good the next day. And so this applies to soup and stews too. So if you know that you want to make a chili, a stew, or a soup, it's great to make it the day before and then let it rest in the fridge overnight, because the flavors mature. The aromatics get more mellow, and sort of even out. So spices are known as volatile compounds. Those are the things that we smell, volatile compounds. And so there's a strategy when you're spicing things. So you can either have a really mellow, mature note if you let soups and stews and chilies rest for a day in the fridge, or you can have really acidic, spicy, just thrown in smell by mixing the spices live, That's more of like a warm, like, aromatic experience. So at chili competitions, there's a thing called spice dumps. So for judging, they'll have this low note, like, that they build in from the very beginning, and you can let your chili rest. And then right before judging, they'll mix in, like, freshly ground cumin, cilantro, and, like, fold it in at the end. And so you get the both low and high notes of spice. So that's how I think about developing recipes. Like, how can I have the low and the high note together when serving a dish, which is great. Pumpkin soup. So how long does minced garlic last for? I actually don't know. I wouldn't let it go for more than like 2 or 3 days, because alliums, speaking of which, alliums, like garlic and onion, have that volatile compound within every cell wall. So that garlic and onion smell is actually a defense mechanism. Like, the plant is trying to protect itself. And so for all the cell walls that we break down, those are the compounds, that keep getting loosed into the air. And so it's getting stronger and stronger as it sits. And as it gets stronger and stronger, it's also breaking down a little bit more. And so you'll notice that it gets wetter and wetter as it sits. It's wetter and more intense, which is a strange combination of things. But I would say I would mince garlic 2 or 3 days beforehand, if you needed to, but I don't know. I don't know, how much garlic are you eating? Dang. I'm kidding. I eat a lot of garlic, so I try not to mince it ahead of time. I use a microplane because I really like spicy garlic in my recipes. What else? Were those all the recipes that I wanted to do? So mashed potatoes. Yeah. So those are all the recipes. So I hope that was helpful to, like, multitask when it comes to cooking recipes. So it's in the prep, it's reading the recipe, and kind of timing things. So yeah. I hope that was helpful. If you have any follow-up questions, I can definitely answer them in another stream or quickly here in the chat. All right, let's change up the music. Oh yeah. Phil. Yeah. What time is it? Oh, it's already 6? Dang. Might not get to all the topics today. But anyway, so the next thing is Keen asked, what are ingredients that have a long shelf life and aren't terrible for you? Because he was naming things on his shelf last week during our mental exercise, and he was like, oh, these are not good for me. But this was a funny thing, I found a website called Crisis Equipped, and I'm like, damn, all these preppers are like, they're so thorough. Yes, Steven, beans are definitely good for you. But they have this list, and I have some amendments to it. But this is a really long list, so I can share this later on Twitter, but basically, hard grains like wheat and buckwheat, which is not a wheat, sorry. It's just like in The Good Place when Janet's like, not a girl. It's like buckwheat, not a wheat. So hard grains like wheat, buckwheat, and millet are really good for you. It's great to have a variety, so you can also stock up on soft grains like barley, quinoa, rye, and grits. I have a lot of rye, so that's what I've been living off of. Like, I don't have a lot of rice. Which, by the way, white rice can last up to 20 years if kept safely. What? No wonder my people love it so much. I was like shocked. Ooh, I had to block a really offensive comment just now. Wow, that was the first time that's happened. Wow, that was horrible and racist. So, gosh, if you guys see like some offensive stuff in the chat, like feel free to report it or, you know, whatever. I can't believe it. Ew. Anyway, yes, lentils are good for you. Oh, yeah. Tris, this is great advice for the last question. If it's a complicated meal with many dishes, you write out a prep cooking schedule based on off all the recipes. Yeah, so I do that as well. It's like I break out the, like, to-do list of all the recipes, and then I put them in order of, you know, what's easiest and fastest, or, you know, like, time it. It's kind of like prepping for Thanksgiving all the time, which I love. I love Thanksgiving. It's like my Super Bowl. Anyway, back to the question at hand. White rice can last up for 20 years. That's insane. Insane. So they also suggested hardtack, which I think is a terrible suggestion. It's like survival food. It's like made out of water, flour, salt. But I have a better alternative for this. Like toast and croutons. Like you can do completely desiccated toast, and that lasts for a long time because you can rehydrate it and make like bread puddings. Throw it in soups. Croutons are great. They last forever. And a recent discovery that I made is you can dry cake. You can dry coffee cake. This blew my mind, and it becomes like a biscotti. Like, what? It lasts forever. Wow. Insane. So don't do hardtack. More like coffee cake, toast, croutons, which is great in moderation. You know, I know that some people are trying to limit carb intake, but if you really need to save stuff like that, that's what I do. Pasta, of course. There are also lots of alternative flour pastas if you're trying not to carb so much. Ramen noodles, soba. Rice noodles are also great. They're super light and really easy to prep. So rice noodles and bean thread noodles, you'll find in Asian stores, and they need to be hydrated in cold water for 10 minutes before you stir fry them or put them in soup, but they cook up so quickly. So that's a great kind of noodle to have in the pantry. Like beans, like Steven said, so dried and canned. And with the canned, you have all that aquafaba, which is the soaking liquid, which is a great egg substitute. Yes. You can also stock up on dehydrated and freeze-dried fruits and vegetables. Like, so you know, when you have a cup of noodle, there's all that stuff at the top, like under the paper. That's all dehydrated vegetables. Like, you could do that yourself. You can make your own little, like, ramen kits without, you know, the packet thing. So, yeah. That's like a fun project. It's much better if you DIY this. And I also recently read that dried fruit is another source of ambient yeast for making sourdough. So if you don't have yeast at the store right now, yeah, you can grow your own yeast from dried fruit, like raisins, apricots, or if you dry your own fruit and leave it out, you know, on the counter, it will collect ambient yeast, and you'll be able to make your own sourdough. Insane. Okay, this doesn't sound good, but it can be. Potato flakes. So pure potato flakes. This dehydrated potato. I know, that sounds bad, but check the box and see if it has any added butter and salt. So I would prefer potato flakes that don't have any additives so that you can control your salt intake. But it's really stupid versatile, like, and you can hydrate it really easily just with hot water, you know? Like, you don't really need any other cooking implements. You just need, like, hot water. You can microwave it. And a secret that I like with instant mashed potato flakes is folding in ricotta. That will make it much softer. It's nice. Oh yeah. And did you know you can make ricotta yourself from spoiled milk? So I have a video about that on YouTube. But yeah, ricotta is really easy to make at home. And plus you can use all that whey for like broth and stuff. Ava says, hardtack is a full RPG game item for you. You forget that it's also a real life thing. I know. Imagine how I felt when I went to an Asian grocery store and saw a winter melon for the first time. You might know that as the Yoshi fruit in Yoshi's story. And like, I was like, it's real. I love it. It's so great. Okay, continuing in the healthy pantry situation. Beef jerky can be really good for you. It lasts forever. I mean, it's protein. Check the salt levels on it. I'm talking about dry beef jerky or biltong or like any kind of thready striated beef jerky, because anything that's like the nugget, like wet chunks, that's not gonna last as long. And plus it has more, like a lot of sugar in it. So leave those at the gas station. Yeah. This also sounds bad, but not bad. You know, powdered eggs, like, you know, as queen of eggs, I usually am offended by, you know, powdered eggs and derivatives thereof. But, in a pinch, they are still protein, and they may have lost a lot of nutritional value from, dehydration, but it's something that will last forever if you really need it. What else? Nut butters, if you're not allergic. I would opt for peanut and almond, more of the heartier, like tougher nuts, versus sunflower, because sunflower, I think it's a little bit more volatile, like it can go bad sooner, and it's a little bit more expensive, by the way. What else lasts forever? Ghee lasts forever. If you don't open the package, ghee is shelf stable. So what is ghee? It is clarified butter. It's mostly used in Indian cooking. It can stand high heat. You can actually stir fry with ghee. Amazing. It doesn't burn like regular butter because clarified butter has gotten rid of that milk solid. And so ghee is really great for high temperature treatment. And it stores solid safely on a shelf for an indefinite amount of time. Great. But once you do open it, you should refrigerate it. Just so you know. What else? Honey has no expiration date. That's insane, right? Even if it crystallizes, it's still honey sugar. So don't be discouraged. You just need to like warm it up a little bit in the microwave or safely near a stove, like indirect heat. Maple syrup also lasts forever. Just make sure you keep wiping the outside so it doesn't get stuck or drip anywhere. Yeah, I know it's a dumb habit to like get used to, but I have a kitchen towel by the sink that's for like stuff like that. So it's always damp, and so I wipe sticky things all the time. Vinegar is always great to stock up on. So different types of vinegar. So I have, this is so funny that it's right below me, but I have bulk containers of white vinegar. These run you about like $2. So this is a lot of like potential pickles. But I also stock up on different kinds of vinegar. So I have a balsamic, I have a red wine vinegar. What else? I just ran out of sherry vinegar. That's a little fancier, but if you have like 2 or 3 kinds of vinegars that have a different acidity levels, so white vinegar is super acidic and like hurts your nose, like it's ammonia. The balsamic is much sweeter, and rice vinegar is super, super mellow. So I like having the variety in the pantry, because then you can quickly, you know, sprinkle it on things. You can make shrubs, which is drinkable vinegar. You can make chutneys instead of jams with vinegar. It's amazing. Tea, lots and lots of tea. So I drink a lot of tea, and I realized that I can be using it for so many other things. So I'm going to try tonight, actually. Let me go get it. I'm trying to make Burmese tea salad. You see this? I've been fermenting. This is just like, I don't know, an 1/8 cup of tea that I steeped. So I basically made a green iced tea for myself one day, and this is all the tea from it. And it's been sitting in this like loose jar, like loose lid jar for 3 days, and so it's been fermenting. And so tonight I'm going to blend it with ginger, garlic, and cilantro to make a condiment for Burmese tea salad. So that's a fun thing you can do to recycle green tea, like spent green tea. Like, I used to be one of those people that would keep pouring hot water over my tea until it was, like, almost clear, because I just kept wanting to use the tea leaves. But now this is a way that I can, like, eat the tea leaves. Alternatively, when it's not green tea, or when it's, like, tisane, like a herb tea, or a fruit tea, or a black tea, I've been using those as, I can't believe I didn't grab all these show and tell items. I've been using my spent tea as plant fodder, as soil. So you can see that I sprouted some rye in a jar and then planted it in the eggshell with this tea. Like you see, it's tea is the soil. So this is doing lots of things here. Like the eggshell is still nutritious and really porous. So whenever it gets water sprayed on it, it's going to leach the nutrients into the tea soil. And it's so cute. It's so cute. I also stacked the eggs because I'm weird, and I noticed that when I poked holes in the bottom, the roots were coming out about the bottom of this, like these roots were growing too much, and so I put another tea egg underneath. So I have this double-decker ryegrass growing in my house. It's very cute. But yeah, I use tea as like a soil for growing things. I'm going to plant my first sprouted calamansi seed soon. I'm very excited about that. Yeah, so I've been growing lots of stuff. What else? So yeah, getting back to the question, as I said with like storing food earlier, it's important to store things as much as cooking is important. So with that, you need to get rid of moisture, vermin, and bacteria, like prevent all those things from happening. So with dry goods, like all the stuff that we just talked about, I keep all of my opened like sugar and flour bags in a big plastic tub. Like that's in like my dry goods shelf is like over there. And so the number one pest in my apartment, this is really unexpected, it's moths. Like I don't know why. They really loved my cornmeal, and I had to throw it out. That was so sad. But basically, because I live in New York City and pests are, like, normal for us, nothing is out in the open in my kitchen. Unless it's, like, a plant that's growing, or unless it's in a sealed plastic or, like, ceramic long-term container. So, yeah, like, I spent a lot of time converting all my storage into something that's covered so that I will reduce the chances of anything eating it. So even if there was a mouse in here, it wouldn't be able to get to anything. So, less attractive fare here. Also, you know how like some dry goods come with that little packet that says do not eat? Like, or in electronics, there's like, it says silica gel, do not eat. That is a desiccant. So you can buy them online and you can throw them into a packet. You can throw one of the packets in like a jar of grains. Just don't forget that they're there. But it basically makes sure that no moisture, even if your jar is like a little loose, sometimes you don't know. Sometimes you forget to really tighten things. Desiccants can help you, it's like insurance. Make sure your dry goods stay dry. It's not required, but it's like a like a catering secret, you know, using desiccants in like things that have just been deep fried and we want to transport. You can throw a desiccant into the pan and make sure that it doesn't steam itself, you know. And another way professionals really get around storing things is vacuum sealing. So if you are an active sous vide cook, like you know what that's about, like vacuum sealers get all of the air out and leave no room for bacteria to grow, which is very exciting. But that can run you about $70 US, or like $100 US. Like I don't have one here, like I have one in California, but I would like to get into that. It also helps things like store flat, like in the freezer. I would love that. Dang. But anyway, that's all about healthy, long shelf life foods. I mean, there's a lot of possibility there. It kind of just depends on what you want to make, you know? You know? All right, let's do a music change. Oh, Phil. What are you all gonna have for dinner tonight? Like tonight, I'm thinking I might make. My friend Kate shared this recipe for pakali. I think it's like an Indian vegetable pate. So it's like ground up walnuts with a green. I have kale, so I'm gonna use kale, and then you dress it with pomegranate. Like I have the other half of a pomegranate that I need to finish like yesterday. So, and then maybe I'll have my tea leaf salad. Oh wait, no, I have to wait 4 more days. Trying to remember that recipe in my head. But yeah, let me know what you're having for dinner in the chat while I get the next question ready here. So Tris, who is here in the chat, asked, how do you make, what else can you make with miso besides soup? So this is a great question. Oh, Lucius is having some roast chicken, potatoes, and mushrooms ready in the toaster oven. That's so dope that you're like all about that toaster oven life. I miss having a toaster oven. It just feels incredibly wasteful for me when I turn on my whole oven. And I'm like making food for just me, you know? I feel kind of dumb about it. Ooh, you had homemade vegetarian sushi. What do you put in your vegetarian sushi, Ava? I'm gonna change the music. No, it's too much symbol. No, too much. Too much cowbell. Alright. That's some new music. Great. Your dinner sounds great. I want to make some sushi. I need to get more rice. Dang. Alright. To our miso question. So, what is miso? I'm not going to go like crazy deep like I usually do with these. But basically miso is fermented soybean and salt and koji, which is a fungus called Aspergillus oryzae. Ha. And sometimes rice, barley, seaweed, and other things are added to it. So it's a thick paste used for sauces and spreads and pickling and all these different things. But it's most recognizable as soup, so miso soup that you've had at a Japanese restaurant. So the main things that I want to pull out from this is the types of miso. So where is it? It is here somewhere. Okay. So there are 3 that you're going to find at least in the US, in the grocery store. So there's shiro miso, which is white miso. That's the one I get the most, I would say, because it's the most mild. Aka miso, which is red miso, and it's a little bit stronger and darker. And then awase miso, which is like a mixed, There's all different kinds. It can be made from different kinds of beans, but the most commercial miso is made with soybeans. So if you have a soy allergy, I'm sorry. There are other kinds of miso, so like chickpea, adzuki bean miso, like those are a little bit more expensive and found at like specialty Japanese, stores. So those are like the basics of miso. And for me, the way that I use it, I actually don't use it for soup a lot. I use it in pesto and hummus as a vegan replacement for the Parmesan cheese. Or in hummus, it's more of like an umami booster. So I always add like either a tablespoon or two, depending, you know, after I taste it and I'm like, oh, maybe it needs a little bit more salt. So miso has lots of salt in it already. So whenever you do add it to things, just keep an eye on the salt. So you might need less salt in the total recipe. A really, really, really easy dressing is whisking it with grated ginger and water, like literally just water. And then sometimes you can add like orange zest and rice vinegar. That's the like traditional Japanese dressing that you'll get on like iceberg lettuce at a restaurant. It can be an umami booster in vegan gravy. You know, you just whisk it in. I've had miso glazed carrots before. Ooh. So you roast carrots, and then halfway through the process, like at halftime, you whisk a little like miso with like honey and olive oil, and then like brush that onto the carrots, and then let it finish roasting, and it like caramelizes the edges. It is so good and savory. Ooh. Another trick I like to do is deglaze mushrooms with miso. So when you make mushrooms, you're sauteing mushrooms and it gets all dry in there and it looks like you're, I don't know, not burning it, but like you're, all the liquid is gone from the pan. One way to deglaze the pan or get all the bits off of the bottom of the pan is usually adding a splash of wine or beer. But you can also deglaze mushrooms with just equal parts water and miso, which gives it more of like a gravy texture. And then you let that evaporate, which is delicious. Yeah. You can make miso salmon. You can fold it with softened butter. Like miso butter is really good on toast. Like amazing. Miso butter and thyme is my favorite, like, vegan, like not vegan, my favorite like toast combination. It's so simple. It's really good. You can make salmon poke. I saw a carbonara recipe with miso. I mean, it's like much richer that way because you already have bacon and an egg yolk in a carbonara. Add miso, it's like so much. It's very rich. I saw a recipe for sparkling miso tonic, which I'm curious about, but I don't know. There's also a recipe for miso cookies. I'm surprised that it has all these, you know, sweet applications. There's also miso caramel. Insane. Cool. And then I think, because Tris likes eggs as much as I do, there is something called a miso tamago. So, you hard boil like maybe 6 eggs. And this sounds a little wasteful, but but I mean, it turns out though. You take, for every hard-boiled egg, you peel it, and then rub 2 tablespoons, like coat it on both sides like Play-Doh with miso, like light white miso. And then you take little plastic baggies, wrap it up, and then make sure the miso is like covered all over the egg. And you keep that in the fridge for like 3 days, I think. Let me double check that. Just Bento says, oh, they put maple syrup in theirs. So it's 2 tablespoons miso and then 1 teaspoon maple syrup per egg. And so you keep it in this little plastic baggie for like up to a week. Or you could just keep them all in the fridge and then like unwrap them and, you know, wipe it off gently before you eat it. But basically it's like a miso, it's like a ramen miso egg. It's a good snack. Like a miso tamago. My mouth is watering. Whoa. But yeah, those are all my miso ideas. Does anyone else have any miso ideas? I'll give you a drum fill on the Casio. Oh, good. You're going to try those miso glazed carrots tomorrow. Awesome. Let me know how it goes or if you have questions. There's lots of different ways you can do it, but I think that's the easiest way, is doing the miso toward the end there. Steven says, my brother made a roast pork thing from Gordon Ramsay recipe the other night, and there are leftovers. Ooh, yum. Yum. You know, as much as Gordon Ramsay yells, he's a pretty great chef. Like, my favorite recipe of his is soft scrambled eggs. I think he made it for his wife's birthday. There's, like, a great video of it. You should watch it. What else? La 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 la. Oh, in your veggie sushi, you put cucumber, avocado, cream cheese, baked sweet potatoes, and Dang! Ooh, that sounds good. My mouth is watering. Okay. Wow, it's already 6:30. Let's skip the last. We'll save tamarind for the next stream because it's a really long one. So let's skip to the fun mental exercises. So if you're new to the stream, this section of the stream, we say a bunch of ingredients in the chat, and then I try to come up with like dishes and ideas on how to combine them. So it's kind of like mental chopped. Like, you can participate too. We just need a set of ingredients to like start with, and then everyone can start like mashing them up with me. So we're starting with grapes and bananas. Thank you, Wes. What else, everybody? Trying to throw us a curveball this week. Last week, everybody said all these really wonderful ingredients that went together, and I was like, ooh. All right, let's start naming some ingredients. Or even finished dishes can also be taken apart in this exercise. It's just a mental exercise. We just want to like demonstrate the flexibility of food, you know? Need a couple more ingredients in the chat. Actually, I'm gonna change music while I wait. Baby spinach from Ava. What else? Let's get one more. Oh, natto! Oh, Lucius, always with the curveball. I love it. Alright, let's get... Let's speed up the music here. This is her. This music is out of control. Okay, no. Too much. Alright, let's work with this. Grapes, bananas, baby spinach, natto, and sausage. Alright, everybody, if you want to mash up one or two ingredients or all four, like, just start spouting off your ideas. But let's start with grapes. So grapes can be roasted. Did you know that? I've used that on a cheese board before, like blue cheese and roasted grapes go really well together. But let's see how they work with all the other things here. So grapes can be either sliced fresh, they can be roasted, they can be dried into raisins. Bananas, they can be also roasted. Yes, you can roast grapes. They're beautiful and amazing. So bananas can be mashed, they can be frozen into vegan ice cream, they can be also dehydrated into chips. Let's see, baby spinach can be fresh, it can be sauteed, it can be braised, it can be stewed, it can be made into a pesto. Natto, I am blanking on all the dishes that they made. There's an old original Iron Chef episode where they did all natto. And it was crazy to me because I didn't know what that was when I was younger. It's also soybeans, but it's got this sticky, like, residue. Oh man, that's blowing my mind. Natto. So natto can be blended into, like, a dip, but it's quite sticky. It's mostly just eaten over rice, plain, actually. And then sausage. Sausage is also versatile. We can braise it in beer, we can slice it, we can crumble it into like a pasta sauce. Hey, wait a minute. Yeah, wait, okay. So we could do like a spinach. Okay, so we can puree the spinach, make like a natto risotto, and top it with like crumbled sausage. That actually sounds okay. If you did like a mix, because natto is usually on rice. And so if we did like a risotto where we incorporate all that like gooiness and then dress it with, I don't know, maybe I would dehydrate the bananas and make a banana powder. No, it's too much. It's too sweet. I don't know. Those three things, like natto, spinach, and sausage, make sense together. So grapes, we can do like a grape chutney for the sausage. Ooh. We could do... I want to mash up the bananas and the spinach. Let's see. Mofongo. So have you had mofongo before? In like either Puerto Rico or like Cuba, like... Yeah. So mofongo is usually plantain. But I think that if you used like regular bananas, it would be a little sweeter, but it still works with like mashed up garlic, and then you use like a bowl, like a or like a cast iron pan, basically like a hot bowl where you put the mashed banana and the garlic, and it kind of crisps up the bottom, and then you can pile in all this other stuff inside. So, like, we can do spinach, we can do sausage, we could do, like, banana mofongo with sausage and spinach. Maybe add some natto. I feel like I need to find a better way to incorporate the natto instead of just putting it on things. That's, like, a criticism that people get on Chopped and Iron Chef, is, like, you just put it on top, you didn't, like, make it a star of the dish. So, like, that's something that I think about. Like, how do you make a rarely often used ingredient into a star of a dish? But yeah, chutney is a move, for sure. Alright, does anyone have any other ingredients or, like, ideas? Because I think this is a really fun exercise. Mashing up stuff. Roasted grapes, yeah. Yeah. Peanut butter, banana, grape sandwich. Okay, let me think of a soup. How can you make a soup from all these ingredients? Really boggling my mind, everybody. Well, at least with the sausage and the spinach, you can sort of make zuppa toscana from Olive Garden. That was my order when I went to Olive Garden. It's basically a sausage, kale, potato soup. Oh, did they? Did they do a soft serve natto ice cream? I'm gonna have to, like, try to find this episode on YouTube and rewatch it, because I used to watch the original Iron Chef when I was a kid. Like, I loved it. Loved it. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they did a soft serve natto ice cream. I don't... Wow. You can make anything into an ice cream. That's been, like, a trope on reality cooking shows, is, like, don't touch the ice cream maker, but, like, me, you know, when you tell me not to do something. I'm like, well, I'm gonna cook it, and I'm gonna eat it. I might not like it, but whatever. Spite. Oh, you never saw the episode, only heard about it. Yeah. Alright. Well, cool. That was fun, everybody. And we went pretty long today. I had a lot to say, I guess, about cooking advice. Does anyone else have any questions? I'm collecting topics for next week's stream. And I decided May 20th is when we're gonna cover eggs again. So I have some questions for the egg stream, but I need more topics for next week. So next week we're gonna talk about tamarind so far. And then anything else anybody wants to know about. And then on the 20th we'll talk about eggs. Does that sound good? Yeah. So, thank you to everybody that's here, that's watching. Welcome to all the new people. Like, make sure you're following me either on Instagram or Twitter, so that I can answer your questions directly if you have anything that comes up before the next stream. So the stream is meant for these long, drawn out explanations of things. But if you have like a really like quick question, just feel free to DM me on Twitter or Instagram, and I will get to it as soon as I can. And I know I had like a really long introduction about like how I'm trying to like pay for life and stuff, but if Patreon, Twitch, or Etsy really isn't possible for you and you still want a tip for good cooking advice, my Venmo PayPal is below. My email is just randwiches@gmail.com. You can feel free to send a tip that way. Or a free and nice thing that you can do to help is just tell a friend to either subscribe here or on Instagram or Twitter with my username, which is randwiches down there. So, if anyone doesn't have any more additional questions, please send your questions to me another time. And I will see you next Wednesday. Thanks for hanging out, everybody. I'm gonna turn up this music and put up the egg. Bye, everybody. I'll see you next week. Bye.